think it was always on the cards that Christmas sales this year would have been pretty disappointing and reflect what was a very difficult time for consumers in general. Whichever country geography you're in, everyone has been affected by the pandemic. Everyone's at a slightly different stage, but the impact of the pandemic on behaviours and on spending and appetite to buy things, even though it's Christmas, has been felt everywhere. So quite why economists put on the rose-tinted glasses and expected it to be reasonably good, I'm not sure. From my perspective, they could have been a bit worse.
What part does online retail, online shopping play in this story and these figures?
Well, online plays a fundamental part. It is the fundamental headline, in my opinion. The thing about online retailing is that returns are much, much, much higher than they are in store-based retailing.
This is where people bring back goods that they don't like. They buy two and end up sending one back. That's what you mean by returns.
I do indeed. And actually in fashion, typically it's a hell of a lot more than two. It's 5, it's 6. And as each year online takes a bigger share of retail sales, and during the pandemic, the rate of expansion of share has accelerated, so those Christmas trading statements tend to be inflated each year because they are generally reported before returns have really kicked in. So if you like, they're kind of like a gross figure and not a net figure. And because Christmas trading statements are unaudited, they're not independently verified, and essentially companies can say what they want. Obviously, you can't play fast and loose with public pronouncements if you're a quoted company, but nevertheless, there's latitude to be slightly economical, perhaps, slightly strategic with the numbers you put out. So I think Christmas trading statements from companies have become increasingly meaningless, and that has become even more so in the last few years.
Consumers around the world are increasingly wary about how much they're spending, given the rise in the cost of living and concerns about inflation and so on. But it's worth mentioning that retail operations are also being squeezed on this as well, aren't they? They're seeing their costs increasing.
Yeah, this is really, almost every bad headwind that you can think of is facing retailers. They are facing higher costs. They're facing higher raw material costs, higher costs for their stock. They're facing higher operating costs, lighting shops, lighting warehouses from which you fulfill orders. And then on the demand side of the equation, consumers are going to really feel it because all of what I've said about rising costs on the supply side from the retailer's point of view is going to have to be passed on in terms of higher prices, higher retail prices. And although we've got wages going up, I think that they will lag materially retail price inflation that is already percolating through. So I think spending is going to be squeezed in 2022 and maybe beyond.